You guys, we are on with Marcus Arroyo, offensive coordinator for the Arizona State Sun Devils. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Okay, so when you first come to a new situation, new school, how do you what's the evaluation process like in terms of figuring out how you're going to run your offense?
Well, I think it's pretty natural in most stops over the course of time. I mean, it's no different than really when you're building a team. Yeah. I think, and you grow up long enough in this thing for, you do it for 20 years, and you get around the right mentors, and you learn how to process rosters and evaluate. And I think when you're putting together the offense, it's not very different in that regard. You're trying to see what talent you have, see what talent you have to acquire, and then you're trying to find out what skill sets you've got. And I think that's, when you go through when you get hired in the recruiting process, you don't get to see your guys very much. They're working out in tights and bikes, and you're like, okay, that looks good if they're playing soccer. We're playing soccer, but you can see them move, And you've got some film. You can go back and look at some film. Obviously, with the first year here, there's not a lot of film of some of these guys, with coaching what they did and putting it together early. So I think, the infant stages of what we've done in the first month is really figure out what do we need as a roster in acquiring, and that's going out and hitting the road and recruiting it the right way. I think we did a really nice job of being thorough and being direct with what we thought we needed, and then figuring out who we got and watching them move around. In the first, we've had a couple weeks here. We've seen guys compete on some of our team competition stuff. Actually got to see guys go out there on the grass and kind of see what kind of internal fire we got, which is always fun. And then you get to see them move around and lift and go like that. So, I think that there's some pieces here that I'm really excited about that we're here. Some pieces coming in that I think allow you to be explosive in the offense. Being able to play with tempo, being quarterback centric. Have some weapons on the outside. And kind of do what we do, and I think that's the name of the game, is trying to be explosive and move the ball and score and have fun doing it.
So this question is coming from something that we talked about with Coach Dillingham, the way we want to clear things up around here. So how much swinging gait are you guys planning on practicing in the spring?
Yeah, we've had. I've already planned out most of the spring for what we're doing offensively. I don't think I've scripted any swinging gait.
Okay. So all you people that are trying to negatively recruit, something like that, you heard it from the man himself. There will not be any swinging gait at practice.
I got to give it to them. Sometimes you get put in a position where you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that then by no stretch of imagination we feel that we being creative is not what we want to do. But we got a lot more to put in and get installed organically and from the core concepts than the swinging gait.
One of the things that it's a blessing and it's tough is that you guys have to figure out how to get good quarterback play this year. Mm-hmm. So what's the evaluation process going to be like for these 3, 4, 5 guys that are in the room that are going to be competing to be the starter?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having played the position, I think that helps. It's always helped me when I look back at like how to put things together from the ground and how to be constructive and giving guys feedback and give guys a clear picture and eliminate the gray for the quarterback room. I think that there's a couple guys here that were in the room that were here last year, so there's some film on what they did. Hard to know how they were taught or what they were being done, so it's hard to really put a pen on that. And then we brought in Sam Levitt, who we did recruit and evaluate thoroughly, and had some tools and traits that you really like, both mentally, physically, that you feel like he had some command and some real quarterback DNA in there that you felt like could really lead and do some things. And so as we go into the first spring, I think you really have to be pointed in regards to what guys are going to do, what you're going to give them, how you're going to evaluate it, how clear and you're going to be with the feedback. I think getting guys as many reps as you can. We're really, really, really thorough in regards to tracking everything, tracking situational football, tracking throws, tracking catches, tracking accuracy, tracking all the things that you can do that give you as much feedback in spring ball versus your, a non-opponent versus your defense as you can. That really give you the closest composite overview of like, okay, we feel like this guy moved the football, took care of the ball, was accurate, had explosive plays, can extend the plays with his feet, can be a problem in the run game, understands the offense. And to do that, you've got to make it really clear. And I think that we'll do that on a daily basis with the guys. It's going to be an open competition. These guys are going to get after it in spring. I'm really excited about that because there's not a clear-cut guy. There's not. There's got all these guys are coming in. They've done a great job applying themselves in meetings and office hours, coming in and working hard and doing the things that it takes that position.
So you played the position. You have recruited the position, and you dealt with a lot of quarterback dads. I'm a quarterback dad.
Yeah.
Give me some tips as a quarterback dad in 2024, because I have a kid who's a freshman now and one who's 12 years old.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm smart enough to know you don't give dads any tips. I'm a dad now, but you don't give dads tips. You just try to.
Well, I'm raising a quarterback.
So to coach the quarterback, that's different. I'm not going to give you tips on that. Yeah, I think the things that's always fun about the dads of quarterbacks is just being able to be honest and be able to give them your honest assessment of kind of like how you do things and what you do, and to show you that. That there's a reason and a rhyme and a reason to what you do. And I think that's really important in our room. And I think it's important in every room. But the quarterback room, telling you as the father and telling the son together, hey, here's why we do what we do, and painting a picture. And I think when you do that, when you're able to have a conversation with that in regards to why is your drop this way, why is your progression this way, why do we run into this look, why do we check this, why are my eyes at the start in this progression, who's the movement key? When you start really getting into those nuts and bolts of it, I think you can have a greater conversation with some of the dads out there who tend to want to be a part of it. I think you can neutralize some of those conversations when you're upfront and honest with them.
Yeah. So what are, in terms of the raising a quarterback son, right? Would you say that there are any do's or don'ts from your experience in being a quarterback and young, and what are some of the pitfalls that either your parents fell into or that they did right or that you would do if you were raising a son?
I had really humble beginnings. I didn't have a male figure in my life. Mom was a butcher and a house cleaner, and she was a rock, dude. She was coming from that type of background. I don't have much background when it comes to a male figure that was there to kind of help mature that process. What I did have is I had then a bunch of coaches, like many young men, a bunch of coaches and teachers around you that you had to be able to pick up off of. And I think if there's anything I'd say that they did the best thing, that they did best for me, was that they were consistent. They were consistent, they were clear, they were devoid of ego. They gave Marcus his approach, and they gave so-and-so his approach. I think that was always a really good thing that I felt like the good ones I had around me, and what I try to do is that, Doug's going to have his approach that I have for you, and I'm going to have a different approach for him too, because it doesn't have to be the same. There'll be a lot of things where we have to do things the same, but I think that there's got to figure out a way and what it is that works with that quarterback, what it is that communicates well with them. How do they need to see it? How do they need to feel it? And to do that, you need to build a lot of trust. You need to build, a conversation with your son or the player or the evaluation, and know exactly what you're dealing with before you just, open the book to the quarterback manual and go, here we go. I think that if there's anything I'd say about, the ability to say, being a quarterback's dad is just being able to have a plan for someone that's their plan. I think if you pick up and try to pick up and just do something rudimentarily and not apply it to that individual person, I think you might have a hard time because they may not feel like there's ownership of them in it.
That makes sense. Being that you didn't have the male figure like you said, but you did have coaches that were consistent and all that stuff around you. Does that impact how you coach now and how you feel about the guys that are either in your room or when you were a head coach? Like, does that impact that?
Absolutely. I think that we all, I've been really fortunate to be around some really cool mentors. Going back to all the way back to Sierra College and the Niners. It's, and Bill Walsh and that crew, and watching those guys practice and take command of that type of leadership in the 49er organization, or going from Dick Tomey or Dirk Cutter or Jeff Tedford.
I love Dick Tomey, man. I wanted to go play for him so
the guys, the Gundys, the Munkins, you go down the list, the McVeys, all the guys, the Sark, the guys that I'm able to call and talk to now in the course of a career. I think I'm so humbled and thankful that all those guys have taken the time to answer questions and to be there for a phone call or to open the door and just let me be a fly on the wall, And I think that I've taken something from these 20 years, let alone growing up played for an NFL coach too, and I've tried to apply all those experiences, to the room, and I think that that's really, really important because I think that there's something to be taught, something we learned everywhere. This last year was a perfect example, a chance to slow things down and step back for the first time in 20 years and travel around and see my mentors and really assess what we did and what we've done over the course of my career, over the course of the career, and figure out how to do it better, figure out who was doing what and what you liked, and not assuming that you had it all figured out.
So why did you decide to come to Arizona State? Because I would imagine that you had other opportunities. Why come here with a young head coach, Kenny Dillingham?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind every time that we got on the phone with some of the other opportunities we had going on as a family was his authenticity. Mm-hmm. I think that we hit it off in that regard in a lot of ways, our energy, how we saw the game. But I think the overarching theme every time I got on the phone with him was the authenticity he had, the passion he had for this place. And I think that the old Coach Arroyo, the young Coach Arroyo probably would have taken some other things and prioritized it different than the older Coach Arroyo now in regards to who you want to be in the foxhole with, where you want to be in the foxhole at, when you want to be in that foxhole. And I think that to be at a place like this with a guy like that's got the things that I know it takes to put a winning program together, as far as the external, internal factors that you need to build a program the right way. Kenny really sold me on him and his vision and his passion for this place. And I think if you do this long enough, you usually know where places can recruit, where places can have support, where they can have an upswell, what conference. I've been in this conference before. I know what this conference is made of. I know where I can recruit to here. I've been across the country, been in 9 states in 20 years. The range is from college to pro. So it's not so much it more had to be who the people are inside the building, and then, hey, tell me a little bit about what the support is to get it done. And I know that is the huge piece that now, the older you get is the bloodline, the whole thing.
Yeah. When you walk into a situation, right, and you have a group of players there, how quickly as a coach are you able to point out, like, oh, that guy might go to the NFL, or like he's got the tools and we need to mold him and coach him up, and if he gets coached up, now he's got a shot. How quickly is that talent evaluation in terms of that?
Yeah, the longer you do this, and the more time you spend, and we all know how much time we spend as coaches doing this. Yeah. And the more that you stare at how the league is going and how the trends are working and what the skills and what the critical traits are, the better you get at identifying them earlier. And I think that it's sometimes really easy to see and sometimes it's not. And I think there's times where maybe when you're young, you're like, oh, that's an NFL guy because he looks a certain way. When in fact, there's a lot of NFL guys who aren't in the NFL that look a certain way. Yes. And there's a lot of guys in the NFL, you're like, that's an NFL player, really? I think you learn why those guys are there. And I think that you're able to put a whole package together faster. So to answer your question, to go into a room is one thing. It's to go in a room, see them move, and then meet them, and then find out what they can do with the command of the game is really where you have to, like, that last piece, you got to see him play. You got to. So
when did you know that Justin Herbert was a dude?
Early, real early. I probably was first. It was in the first few months we got there, but it wasn't solidified again until me and him spent a lot of time sitting down talking, not throwing, not jumping, not not dunking, him not pushing me around because he's so big.
Yeah, he's bigger than people think he is.
He's a monster, and he is fantastic.
I remember I talked to Farrell Brown, and in his freshman year, because the kid came over from, I think, Eastern Washington or
I forget. Dakota Prukop was there that freshman year when I left Oklahoma State, and then he just left.
I had talked to him when he was there. He said, "Our best quarterback is this kid from Eugene." I was like, "Man, there's no way."
I had 3 offers.
Yes.
I had 3 offers.
Why do kids like that get missed?
There's a multitude of reasons. Number one, it could have been small town. It could have been lack of it could have been anything. But I think for Justin, it was a small town. Eugene's small. It's hard to get to if you're not going there.
For sure.
He got hurt his junior year, broke his leg his junior year. So there was only 1 year of him, and I think, but guys like that, if you've got something there, if you've got something somewhere, and you know what you're looking for, if you guys did find it, and then obviously at the last minute he ended up there, but he was most identifiable for me when we sat down and we really started to get into the heart of like how he's wired.
Yeah.
Because that was elite. That was the game changer. Because he has he has ability to process. He has a competitiveness about him, and he got. We had to retrain how the messaging of an introvert can still be a really positive, influential leader. And I think that's a really loud noise around a lot of guys. And I think that was the most powerful thing we were able to get done was I told him, you don't need to be someone you're not. You need to just be a maximized version of yourself and you'll be fine. And because you're told for so long, and he wasn't. It's all over the media. We all remember he can't lead. He's too quiet. He's not a voice in the. Well, that's not true. That's never been proven. It has nothing to do with volume or title.
Marcus was very similar to that too.
The list is the list of people in the world who are leaders who are not loud and introverted and controlled is enormous. Yeah. I think it is proven as a false. But that at that point's when we found out guys like that can really find out. I mean, we met Jared Goff. When me and Jeff met Jared Goff his high school year, it was like this guy's got an it thing. When we met Nick Mullins in Mississippi with Monk, it was like this kid's got some it to him. We went. I mean, the list goes on of guys you meet, and you're like, oh, and we had Keenan Allen at Cal. I'm like, dude, this guy's got some like magic.
Yeah.
Marvin Jones. The Chris Carson, Justice Hill, Mason Rudolph, James Washington, Marcel Aitman. Like you're like, all these guys are different, but they all have critical skills, traits, and some other, DNA where you're like, okay, there's enough there to go. Okay, this could go really, really good for this guy.
Yeah. And before we get you out of here, can you look in the camera and tell the recruits, the parents, Sun Devil Nation, why Arizona State, why they need to come to Arizona State, and why the fans need to come out and support and what they're going to see?
Yeah, I just think that there's an awesome time to be a Sun Devil. I mean, you got a brand new coach, you've got an amazing staff, you've got an amazing city, and a conference that is fantastic. I've been in it before. You've got an unrivaled roster right now that is on the uptick. The support and commitment from the group that's surrounding themselves around ASU football has been nothing but amazing. You have Tempe, Scottsdale, Arizona as a city that is just unrivaled in regards to, especially now the Big 12 landscape. I mean, you're the destination. I just couldn't be more fired up about the people and the place and the timing to be here.
Yep. You guys, he's Marcus Arroyo, offensive coordinator over at Arizona State. Excited to see what you're going to do with the offense and ring that scoreboard, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks.